It's all over. It looks like crap. It's all overgrown and
But it's not the way it was.
no, it's not the way. Well, no, but they got most of that crap out of the side yard, but still. Good evening. Let's go ahead and start this. It's a special meeting of the City Council of Fort Walton Beach on Tuesday, September 24th. Oh, okay. The red light came on, so I thought we were recording.
Okay, I'm sorry, I thought it was on.
No, I think we're good. But if you want to check, go ahead. We don't need to do this twice. We're good? Okay. All right. Special meeting of the City Council of Fort Walton Beach on Tuesday, September 24th, 2024. If you have a cell phone, if you'd please turn it off or put it on vibrate, that would be great. And then if you'd stand with me, please, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We've got a quorum, so we can get an approval of the agenda.
Let me take her off.
Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
And moved by Councilman Mee and seconded by Councilman Smith to approve the agenda as presented. Any further comments? Questions? Council, please vote.
Somebody pressed it already. Guess I was wrong on that.
Does pass 5-0. Thank you, Council. That'll bring us to item number 4, resolutions. 4.1, 2024-13, a resolution amending the FY 2024-25 comprehensive fee schedule. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Fort Walton Beach, Florida, amending the comprehensive fee schedule for the FY 2024-25 and providing an effective date. And Mr. Peters?
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Every year at this meeting, we always at least annually update the comprehensive fee schedule. Each director will go in and check their different fees and charges and update what they see necessary. The police services, rec and culture, growth management, and public works and utility were the biggest ones that were updated in there. And I respectfully recommend City Council adoption of this resolution 2024-13 to amend the comprehensive fee schedule for fiscal year 24-25. If you have any specific questions, the department directors will answer them for you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yep.
Any questions from council for either Ms. Neighbors or one of the directors? I'll start with Mr. Smith.
I guess a question for Tiffany. Looks like the pickleball and the tennis and the volleyball was all at $200 a day. We dropped it down to $100 a day,
No, it's $100 per court.
or per court per day, but it was at 200.
It was at $200 per day.
What was the thought process behind that, just out of curiosity?
Sure, yeah, the thought process, we checked around and primarily it was for the pickleball courts, and we checked around at other pickleball.
So just
court
getting price
rentals,
competitive
and we
with
got
the market?
more competitive
Okay.
pricing.
I think actually, we were charging like $200 per day for the facility. Now it's $100 per court per day.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
$200 for the.
Yeah, for the day.
Okay, all right, I got you, I see it now.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Comp fee study, looking at parking. I know where things are moving at a pace with the parking conversation here, but Mr. Peters, can you reassure us, like for an example, just in between meetings going back there for soccer, it got brought up, but folks that are coming here for City Hall to do business, whether it's to watch soccer, do those kind of things, in this comprehensive fee schedule, will they be expected to pay for paid parking if they're coming to extracurricular things that the city provides, like sports and
You talking about for
recreation?
this parking here?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so what we, based on what Premier Parking does is you can issue a code, so to speak, for the youth baseball or softball or soccer or flat, whatever players. You could also allow certain nights where there's going to be big time games and a lot of people, they would cut back on the enforcement because it's all going to be, big games and stuff. So you can actually generate whatever fees that you want as a council, as a city. We as a city could say, hey, sports programs, city programs, they wouldn't pay. You could do it for people coming to pay a water bill. You could do it people coming to a council meeting. You can actually kind of do, it's kind of open to do whatever you choose.
Okay, thank you. So just for clarification, for the record, again, comp fee schedule, parking rates, those kind of things. If people are coming here, whether it's sports, paying water bills, they do not have to pay for parking. Is that
That's correct.
All right, thank you.
Other questions?
I'll just follow up on that, just out of curiosity. How does one get that code? I mean, you had mentioned a code that they might be able to punch in, or appreciate the question. I just
Yeah.
don't know how it works physically when they
We
arrive.
don't
I mean,
have it, we don't have anything set in stone. And now for fees, obviously, you all had approved a contract with Premier Parking. We haven't actually sat down and developed the fees. We talked, Councilman Smith and I talked briefly right before the meeting. But what you would do is you would generate a QR code on those days, or they would, if it's an employee, they punch in a license plate that doesn't require them to pay. So there's a bunch of different ways you can do that to prevent people from coming to Debbie comes in here, she would punch in a code because she's coming to a council meeting.
and where would she obtain that code from?
It would be you'd have it on the side, on a kiosk as you come into a facility, on signage, you would scan it and type in, put in your license plate.
Oh, gotcha. Thank you.
Any other, Mr. Smith?
Just to kind of follow up on that, but currently right now, probably the easiest way I would assume to do it is we could just have enforcement hours, because we're manually enforcing it now. So if we knew that baseball or soccer or whatever starts at 3:30, we can tell Premium Parking, hey, we don't need any enforcement after 3 o'clock on these days, and you've got nothing to worry about in that sense.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Council, may we get a motion?
Make a motion to adopt resolution 24-13, amending the fiscal year 24-25 comprehensive fee schedule.
Second.
And moved by Councilman Jeter, second by Councilman Smith, to approve resolution 2413, a resolution amending the FY 2024-25 comprehensive fee schedule. Further comment?
I'm gonna say, great job changing the pickleball for it instead of being a facility, because once we get that big facility done, it's a good thing somebody can't rent it for $200.
Agreed.
Any other comments? Council, please vote. Does pass unanimously. Thank you, Council. Brings us to item 4.2, 2024-14, resolution to adopt the FY 2024-25 final millage rate. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Fort Walton Beach, Florida, adopting the millage rate for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024, ending September 30th, 2025, and providing an effective date. Is that Jeff, or is that you, or Nicole?
Yeah, well, actually, yeah, just as this is the second reading of it, council adopted the first reading, the tentative at 4.6116 mils, and tonight would be the final millage rate.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from council for Mr. Peters? Mr. Smith?
Nicole?
Hold on.
You gotta do this.
You gotta do the script that's in the agenda for the official before council comments.
Except I don't have that script.
I have got it.
Yeah.
So I didn't use it.
Yeah. We talked about that pre-meeting, but I didn't pick it up.
Let me just make sure this is correct then.
Oh.
It is page 38.
Sorry. Thank you, that's okay. All right. So the resolution title, 2024-14, resolution to adopt the FY 2024-25 final millage rate. The millage rate for the city of Fort Walton Beach for FY 2024-2025 is 4.6116 mils, which is 6.55% above the rollback rate of 4.3282 mils. The rollback rate is the millage rate that will provide the same ad valorem tax revenue as was levied during the prior year. The reason for setting the millage rate at 4.6116 mils is to provide sufficient revenues to balance the general fund budget. And now I'm going to open the public hearing and ask for comments on the millage rate. Anyone wish to comment? Seeing no comments, I will close the public hearing. I'll ask for a motion and a second for resolution 2024-14 2024-14 to set the millage rate for the city of Fort Walton Beach at 4.6116 mils for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024, ending September 30th, 2025.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion, but I would like to adjust this motion from the current reading. Can I adjust it now, or do we need to wait and make that motion official based on this reading?
What's your motion going to be? I mean, you can make a motion right now, anything you want.
Well, just done a lot of talking and thinking and planning in the community, and it's very important for a lot of people on the rollback rate. It's just as important for a lot of people, like we said last time when this current millage rate passed, to get projects done and get everything completed. So I actually spoke last time about my son Jet reading a book called Win-Win. So win-win would be to meet in the middle. So my motion, I'd love to elaborate on it, but my motion would be to meet in the middle at 4.699. And
You want to raise it?
I'm sorry, no. I'm
I'm
sorry.
in.
Just out of curiosity, before we go, is there a question asked staff, and you close the public meeting and then went straight to a motion?
Yeah.
I did. I closed the public hearing because nobody spoke. I opened the public hearing, asked for comments from the public, and then there was no one there. So
That's how the script always reads.
That's the script.
Yeah.
Discussion will come.
So,
But there'll be council discussion once there's a motion.
yes, right. Once we have a motion,
I'm
we
allowed to ask you a
can
question, I'm all right for that.
So the motion would be to meet in the middle on the millage rate. And in meeting in the middle, it would be an additional $295,000 in revenue for the city. But that $295,000 in revenue must be used on a capital improvement or a project, and I'll recap this better too to elaborate, but not towards a study, not towards payroll, and the community will have input on this. I've actually spoke with Jared Williams from Get the Coast, who was extremely excited about it and said we could do like he did years ago when he put out one about 6-foot and 8-foot fence and had the community get involved, and the community voted for an 8-foot fence. So I would love to put a project out there with this amount of money. We have plenty of projects to use that for, and we'll get to that list of projects should we get there. But to be a survey put out to the community from Jared Williams at Get the Coast to accept the community's feedback on how, since it is their money, how they want us to use it. So we're rolling the rate back, meeting in the middle, giving them some of their tax dollars back, but the additional tax dollars that we're using, we're asking for their feedback and their input. And there's ways he can do this survey to where it's only one address, one this, one that. So when we get to that actual survey side of it, that'd obviously be a separate motion. But to meet in the middle with the community having feedback with Jerry Williams from Get the Coast on where our additional revenue gets spent, to where they get to be involved on the front end and tell us what they like instead of on the back end when we decide what to do with their money. So I think it's a win-win for the community.
Ms. Neighbors, I'll put you on the spot. That's about a 4.45 something.
4.4699.
4.4699 mils. Okay. So your motion then is to set the millage rate for the city of Fort Walton Beach at 4.4699 mils for the fiscal year, beginning October 1st, 2024, ending September 30th, 2025. Is that
And that's 3.27% above the rollback rate.
3.27%? Okay.
I don't want to repeat myself, but yes, with the additional revenue going to
Yes.
community input on where they would like to see their money spent, with Jared Williams from Get the Coast doing a survey.
Got it. So that's the motion. Do we need a second?
I mean, I'll second for discussion, but
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. I could read the whole thing again, but it's really to set the millage rate at 4.4699 mils, raises an additional $295,000 above the rollback rate, and that money would have to be used for a capital improvement project as determined by the citizens through a survey done through Get the Coast.
Correct, yes, sir. I just feel like we have a lot of momentum right now as a Daggone city. We have a lot of projects going. I know it's where a lot of money is going, but the win-win in this to me would not be more revenue for the city to do another project or meeting in the middle and giving taxpayers back. To me, the win in this would actually I would love to see people get involved on the front end of a survey instead of that same 10% on the back end when we do something that could be negative about it. You have a chance to get out in front of it. The people that may not want to come here and speak or may not want to send us an email, it's real simple. It's a survey online. Here's 5 things we can do. It can be the park at the end of Bay Drive that's not in the budget, right? And that's going to be coming up. That's going to be a couple $100,000. Mine personally, what I would like to see on the list is improving the blight on all of the medians and the easements. I mean, we talk about that. We talk about getting with the county and seeing what we can do to the Eglin corridor. I think this would be a great way, should this win, if we put on there improved blight and medians and roadways and maintain some things a little better. Let's take that to the county and say, here, we've got this money. Would you match it and help us clean up this Eglin corridor? Kind of like instead of kicking the can down the road, let's take this money and do something that our community wants to do with it. Not what we want to do with it, what they vote on and they want to do with it.
Other comments, Mr. Schmidt?
Yeah, like I mentioned in the last public meeting, I think we all want to get to the same place and getting done the great projects. I lean more towards, first off, to set this millage rate, we got to do it tonight. I mean, but whatever the intention of the survey is to get civic engagement. I'm a huge fan of that. And whatever that result of that survey comes back from Get the Coast to tell us which are the community's favorite projects, I'm on board for looking into funding those, entertaining those projects through the unrestricted route, through the savings that we have. I respect the need to try to find that win-win and compromise between the middle, so we won't have to go as much into the reserves. Again, I respect that, but I've always just leaned towards, especially while property values are improving and increasing, that I stay with the rollback rate. So for that, I won't be supporting it, but I definitely want to have the conversation.
Other comments, Mr. Smith?
So, Nicole.
Councilman Smith.
My question to you is, if we roll this rate back to the 4.3282, where are you going to take that money out of our current budget that is the next agenda item?
Well, the easiest solution would be, what Jeff and I talked about, would be the Brook Street parking lot across from Woodfoot, because that won't be done for at least another year, so we can start planning for it and budget for it in the year out.
So we're expecting that to probably fiscal year the following year versus this year, but we currently have it in this year's budget. So essentially what you're saying is we can take that out, not lose anything, fund the city to the fullest extent that we were already going to, and it not cost anything.
Yeah, I mean, we tipped it. That may be a Daniel question. I mean, I think the drawing has been done. We're still waiting on the lease agreement from Mr. Norman across the street, which it could come in the next month or so. So it technically could be done this year, but it's a project that could be pushed to next year's as well. I mean, it's.
And then we have the money in CRA that we would have to take out, which is a little over 100,000. Which, what did we talk about, Jeff? A little bit in maybe?
Yeah, it'd be a little bit of wayfinding. We also budget some CRA incentives that we could bounce that back a little bit. We'd have to go back to the rollback rate. The CRA would be $100,000, so we would probably take it from 3 or 4 different things.
So one more question, 2-part question. How much money do we have in unrestricted reserves in the general fund account right now?
Right now, I think it's $4 million. That is hold on, I have it here somewhere.
Does that include the fairgrounds money?
It's about this is an approximate, about 4.6 million.
And then how much do we have?
4.36 million in unassigned fund balance.
And then how much in the CRA?
CRA is technically all restricted. Chris could explain that.
Correct, but how much reserves, I guess, do we have there?
3.3 million about. That's not encumbered through like projects like the landing.
Okay. That's all the questions.
And that doesn't touch the fairgrounds money, the 4 million?
Some of that's been restricted towards the debt service payment. Yeah, like 2 points.
Some of that fairgrounds money is in that
million.
unassigned fund balance, but some of it's allocated to the $3 million balloon payment that we're going to owe in a couple years on.
Like $2.3 million was earmarked for the balloon payment, and the rest would be unrestricted.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Nicole, do you know for 2025 projections from the tourism side of the house, are we projecting more funds compared to our 2024
Are you talking about
actuals?
half cent or are you talking about TDC?
The tourist development allocation. I know we get that 12.5%, not so much as the percent going up or down. That's locked in at the 12.5%, but it's the projected revenue from that allocation.
Yeah, the projected revenue is pretty same as last year. From
Okay.
what they sent, what their projections were in March. We develop our spending based on tourism usage, and it was within $50,000.
Right, so similar to
What the actuals, if you get more, it goes into your reserves account. They're notified as the year goes on.
So similar to sales tax, that was my next question, but sales tax about the same.
Sales tax is
projected.
only about like, I think it was like $500 more projected.
Pretty close to
last year.
About
It's about, yeah,
flat
it's
line.
about flat.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mr. Berry?
That was half-cent sales tax, is that what you were talking about?
I was talking about tourist development department as well as sales tax. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
yeah. You answered it.
Mr. Walker?
Kind of along the line with Councilman Smith's questions, I think it's Jeff and Nicole both, because I'm looking for the answers from either one of you, but we used the rollback rate last year, we used it, and so I will be looking for a summary or description from either or both of you, maybe Department Heads, Tiffany, Mr. Payne, I'm not sure, but I'm interested in hearing about how the city was impacted by that rollback rate, if any, were there any, was anyone let go due to the lack of funds? Were raises not given? Were any jobs not funded? And were there cuts in operations budgets? And I want to give a little background on those questions. I'll reread them, I've got them on road, but I wanted to thank Councilman Schmidt for last year. I think it was last year when we had the $1.3 million and thereabouts, the fire fee was up for consideration and it got axed. And, you know, prior to that, there was lots of concern and dire forecast, doom and gloom about what would happen, and then David just brought it to everyone's attention when he asked. He says, were there any jobs cut? No. Were there anybody not hired? No. And were there any operation cuts? And it was no. They all had increases. So, you know, that was interesting to see that a department had received a $1.3 million decrease, yet nothing was lost to speak of. There was claims that there were going to be, you know, things, and it was coming from all different narratives. I think David says that well. How it gets around, I don't know. But, you know, so I wanted to hear from you guys. When we rolled back last year, is there anything that stands out in your mind that you couldn't have, that we had to forego, or that we lost
I
somebody?
have that list, but we don't have an.
Yeah, I figure we
Tuition,
reduced some tuition, employee tuition that we want to kind of employee morale, then we budget
I
that.
can't remember the other things we cut. We cut wayfinding and CRA. We had a list when we did it last year, but I didn't know that you were gonna ask that, so I don't have it all.
Gotcha. Okay.
I think we pulled it from probably
That's when we went
6
back
or
there and
7
recessed
different
it,
line
like,
items.
yeah, there was a bunch of little things to add up to that.
Okay. That's all for now. Thank you.
All right, any other comments from council? Mr. Mead?
I like the idea of a community consensus from Get the Coast. I struggle with that many times, kind of, I'm not on social media, so I don't hear a lot of that input, so that would be nice. I will support the rollback rate, but I do like the idea of when we're struggling with a project or whatnot to engage Get the Coast to help us get a consensus.
Mr. Mayor, can I add to it, Ross? I do like the idea of that consensus, and I meant to mention that. Getting that survey feedback. I'll say I've done it in the private world, and especially here, I think it gets a little bit tricky for Get the Coast. Not to say that they could put it out there and ask for feedback, but restricting streets and addresses and stuff on him would probably be tough. It's a good idea. I like it.
Well, I asked him, he said he could do it, so he said that you would have to submit your address, so there'll only be, you know, X amount per address.
Sure, and I don't know how the verification process of all that goes and everything, but I like the idea of it, and it reminded me of something I thought about this weekend on that feedback, because I know I'm at odds, I'm in the minority of those who, you know, there's the rec center there, and I'm thinking to myself, that was an $8 million swing right there, and we don't have any feedback from taxpayers. We didn't get, unless it was a personal one, you know, hey, I like it, I don't like it, and I'm sitting up here, I'm like, man, my goal was to reduce the cost of government on taxpayers. That was my #1 goal. And then, so when it came time to spending $8 million, I told Jeff from the beginning, I love sports, I love athletics, I love what it does for our children, I love what it does for our youth. It's just a great thing to have. But we don't get any feedback from them on an $8 million spend, then I'm torn too. It's like, well, we're the ones voted in to do that, so let's spend it. But then at the same time, we spent, again, I think I was in the minority, it's okay, but $150,000 on a survey of designing buildings downtown for that, put on that, and that's not really any cost to taxpayers, that's on the consumers, the building owners. So I'm like, what is it that's driving the decision to have a survey or not have a survey? Right now, it just seems random, and so I greatly appreciate you bringing it up, stirred it back up in me. I like the idea of surveys. When do we do it? Is it a dollar amount? Are we up here to just make calls on our own without? It's funny, we were asking, you had suggested $295,000, quote, survey them to see how they want to spend it. Why wouldn't we survey them on an $8 million spend or $150,000 spend? I just don't know where that number comes in.
Hey, I'm all for more surveys. I'm kind of with Councilman Mead here. I'm not fully engaged in the social media and I'm still learning it, but it does seem there's sometimes can be more negative than positive. So it's kind of like, how do we get this spun in a positive way on the front end to where you actually have input on what you can or can't do with your money? Now, on the flip side of that coin, this is where we can actually adjust something and really show them an increased revenue amount. So it's easy to put that back on them. I think we're up here to make decisions, and when we're elected up here, I struggle with that too. They elected us to make decisions, and it's kind of like if we go back to the referendums, which we're not going to get into all that tonight, but it's like if we're elected up here to make decisions, what decisions are we elected to make, and what decisions do we put back on the voters? I struggle with that all the time too.
Interestingly, you said you'd presented this. With them, it's not revenue, it's expense. It's with the additional expense you're paying the city. What would you want to do? So they don't see it as revenue. It is an expense, and that's where, I love sports. Just I'm a huge fan of it. I think it does great stuff in the world, but there's people out there that maybe in these economic times they might say, man, as much as I like it, as tight as my wallet is, I can't support. That's what they would tell us. I can't support another $150, $600, whatever that number turns out to be, because we don't know yet about the financing that's going to come on that and how it's going to be paid by taxpayers and stuff. So I like the idea. I like the idea of a survey. I don't know where it's going to go. I'm glad you brought it up, because I do think that soliciting verifiable feedback from our constituents about spends is a great way for the transparency of government.
Well, I love it too, because up here a lot of us talk to different factions of people and have different opinions when we come in here. So maybe this leads to next year. Should it be possible? It'd be interesting to put this survey out and say, should your millage rate get increased this way or that way? What are these 5 projects? Then we have that ahead of time. And if everybody votes none of these projects and he brings back, that would be my thing. If he only brings back 20 people that completed the survey, we're wasting time talking about it. It'd be cool if you brought back thousands of people, maybe more people than actually go to the polls to vote, but they said, yeah, raise my millage rate if you're going to clean my streets up. Yeah, meet in the middle halfway on the rollback rate if you're going to clean my streets up. It'd be interesting to feel that pulse, not just hear it from our 2 or 3 friends.
Surveys are tricky, but I like them. Thank you for bringing it up.
Other comments from council? The motion on the floor is to set the millage rate at 4.4699 mils.
Councilman Peters, one question is, get the coastal and donate services to the city?
For this one survey, yes, sir.
Is everyone clear on what the motion is?
Okay, because I don't want to repeat it.
Well, I can read this whole thing again. That's the motion, and we've got a motion and a second to set the millage rate for the city of Fort Walton Beach at 4.4699 mils for beginning October 1st, 2024, ending September 30th, 2025. It's been moved and seconded, and everyone said their comment. Council, please vote.
Ms. Barnes, I'll second it for conversation.
Second script I read for the rollback rate.
You already did it. We just got to make another motion to set it.
You got to read the first part with the rollback rate in it. Do you have?
No, it's still this. No, it's still this, because it's still the same.
I think y'all are still just waiting for a motion.
It's still the same.
I think y'all are still just waiting for a motion to set the rate.
Yeah.
Because, and it fell on 4.4, and so
Right.
4.4, and so
Right.
y'all need that motion for y'all need that motion for
Let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and do this. I make a motion to set the rollback rate at 4.3. Let's go ahead and do this. I make a motion to set the rollback rate at 4.3282. Yes, I make a motion to set the rollback rate at 4.3282.
Second.
And Mayor, when you read that, it'll be 0% above the roll percentage.
Okay. Okay. The millage rate for the city of Fort Walton Beach for FY 2024-2025, the proposed is 4.3282 mils, which is 0% above the rollback rate of 4.3282 mils. Makes sense. The rollback millage rate is the rollback rate is the millage rate that will provide the same ad valorem tax revenue that was levied during the prior tax year. The reason for setting the millage rate at 4.3282 is to provide sufficient revenues to fund the general fund budget. Now I open the public hearing. Anyone from the public wish to speak? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Now I need to ask for a motion and a second for Resolution 2024-14 to set the millage rate for the city of Fort Walton Beach at 4.3282 mils for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024, ending September 30th, 2025.
I think you made the motion, right, Councilman Schmidt?
Yes, sir.
And Devine seconded.
Second.
So it's been moved by Councilman Schmidt, seconded by Councilman Smith, to set the millage rate for the city of Fort Walton Beach at 4.3282 mils for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024, ending September 30th, 2025. Open for discussion.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, excited about the efforts that even with the rollback rate, our employees will be getting some pay increases. We'll be able to continue some amazing projects that this board is extremely excited about that couldn't be executed without our fine working staff. You know, the millage rate gets so much attention, but I want to highlight, and again, after this action's done, we move on from tonight, there will be some unfortunate negativity that goes back with as if we don't want the city to progress. I want to put on the record that this board and this staff has worked extremely hard to get to this point and very excited about taking care of our employees. We still are funding employee-only health care coverage, I believe. You know, so we're going to continue to take care of our employees, and I'm looking forward to this new budget year, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Other comments? Mr. Smith?
Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. It's not going to affect the budget. We can still do everything that we need to do based off of the proposed budget with rolling the rate back. So why take more money than we need? It makes sense.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Walker?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not going to be supporting it because looking at, I can't separate the millage and the budget. And when we look, I mean, it's great to think that we're going to be able to roll back $591,000, I think it was, you know, the taxpayers to leave it off of them. But as I was going through this, preparing and trying to stay more out of the weeds this time, as I did the first time, I got down in the weeds and tried looking at line items and didn't get too far there. So I thought I'd take a little bit 30,000 foot level approach at it. So as we all know, the millage rate's going to, if it passes, will roll back and it'll be $591,000 less. But that's from an proposed budget increase on the budget of $4.8 million. So to Councilman Schmidt's point there, I would hope that the narrative back in the halls of City Hall here are no discussion of a reduction at all. It would be of the $4.8 million. So I can't imagine that would happen in those halls when we're talking about a $4.8 million increase. That's going to be 4.2 with a rollback rate. Still an increase to the city budget of $4.2 million. So that's 9.6%. So now it's down to about 9% if the rollback rate goes through. But back nearly 5 or so years ago, we had what I thought of was a mini revolution at City Hall The revolution was over a proposed 1.3 million increase to the budget. We had several hundred people pack this room and the room next door to watch video and have audio pumped by speakers into the parking lot where people stood waiting their turn to speak. In response to that movement, many things were revealed and 3 charter amendments were created and signed by 1,400 petition signers. Those 1,400 petition signers told their representatives they wanted to see a 3% match rate of increase on the budget. Yet here we are, a group of us voted in by many of the same movement, looking at approving a nearly 10% increase to the cost of government. Looking at the petition and what has happened since then, it sickens me. It appears that the will of the people has not only been ignored, it looks like it's about to be ignored again. I brought the petition because we had 1,400. I know we're all familiar with it, but I just thought the language of it. I know there were negotiations and discussions afterwards, but that petition language is Fort Walton Beach Council shall not adopt any annual budget which would result in an increase from the base budget hereinafter described more than 3% or the percentage increase, if any, in the consumer price index for the previous year, which 2.5 was 2023. So if this were in place, if we were listening to the will of the people of these 1,400, we would be looking at this as a guiding light to how we will adjust the budget up, down, cut it, whatever it is, but it's here before us all. So I'm operating today from the standpoint that this is already in place, and that's why I won't be supporting even just the rollback rate. I want to see more. We don't have a chance now through the discussions and negotiations, clarifications, whatever you want to call it, with the watch group and city staff and all. It got narrowed down to 2 items. It got narrowed down to personnel expenses and operations, both being limited to the max of 3%. It could go down, it could be as low as 0, and or to follow the CPI, whichever is less. So with that in mind, when this millage rate is going to roll it back $591,000, it does not roll back our city budget 3%. So I don't know, Mr. Burns, if this is possible, or Mr. Mayor, after this motion is made, and let's say it passed, another motion can't be made to reduce it further, correct?
Well, in the same meeting, you could try, but.
I could try, I got it. So I could ask for an adjustment. Who made this motion? Mr. Schmidt. I could ask Mr. Schmidt if he would consider something lower than the 3% millage rate, the rollback rate, or if he, I guess I could ask you, Mr. Schmidt, if there's plans to addressing the budget otherwise, because I think the millage rate is our biggest opportunity to come close to that 3% that is 1,400 petition signers told us way back when. It's been 5 years since we did that, thereabouts, and I think, I had it here. That base budget that was approved in here was $39 million, and today we're at 60 some odd million. I added it up. It was about a 46% increase since the time the petition signers told us they wanted to limit the budget. We're up 46% in the budget. So I don't think, we will not be living up to it if it passes. We won't be living up to what they told us they wanted to see. I think our millage rate is the best, so I would request.
Correct what I told you. If you're actually talking about you want to go like a lower millage rate,
right.
If that's your question, you can make a substitute motion now.
I can make a substitute motion. So I'd like to, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a substitute motion and open to amendments after, but I'd like to propose the millage rate at 3 mills.
All right. Mr. Walker is proposing millage rate of 3 mills. Is there a second?
Or discussion.
Not seeing a second, we'll go with the original motion of Mr. Schmidt's. Millage rate of the city of Fort Walton Beach will be 4.3282 for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024, ending September 30th, 2025.
Mr. Mayor, and just a second, I mean, I threw in what'd you call it, the substitute, and that was immediately voted on, and I'm fine with that. I didn't think that it would pass, but I think there was going to be continued discussion. I think there was the discussion closed on the original motion?
So we got a motion and a second on the table.
Right.
So mine was denied, but yours is still open, I believe.
That's correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can still discuss the
Okay,
primary
I
motion.
thought you were,
Gotcha.
gotcha. So it's not closed.
No, sir.
But without further, as soon as we get further comments, we'll be ready to vote. You're Mr. Jeter.
I feel like I'm arguing for this side over here, for me and Mr. Berry. Wanted to meet in the middle, like we all should be trying to do anyway, and I just see a lot of this money going towards that. I know you want to roll it back. I kind of feel like we're at a point to where we should not just roll the rate forward, but we should roll we should roll our whole community forward. We should roll our rec center forward. There's so many things we could do with this money and get our community involved. I think this could just be a win-win and a positive on so many ways. Then, like you said, like Councilman Schmidt said, we're doing great things. We're going to do great things without this additional 245 and 50. We live in a great place. We live in a great city. This little bit of money is not going to affect us one way or another because we're going to get great projects done and we have a great team. But what it will do is it will make us now possibly have a great community that wants to get involved. So I won't be supporting the motion. I like to support meet in the middle and work with our community.
All right. Mr. Schmidt.
Yeah, just, I mean, procedurally wise, Mr. Walker, I didn't second just because I made the motion to
Sure.
roll it back. But I think one thing that we got to put in context, before we, again, close this out is, I just want to put on the record that we're going to have all these awesome projects. So I think I just heard Nicole mention that we might have to put across from the property to the landing off for another year, which may not have happened anyways this budget year. So projects are still going to be executed. As well as too, whenever the tourist development department or the district was pitched to us about expanding countywide, a lot of that pitch was about using these funds to offset and to impact the burden for our local residents. So I'm trying to keep the spirit of that, as well as the sales tax that was pitched to the community, of using that to impact the burden on the local residents. So we all want to keep going to the same place, and that's what I love about these spirited conversations. I think we're all going to get to the same place. But to kind of respond to Mr. Walker's point as well, those petitions that were signed and that budget amount was so low was before a lot of those revenue streams that were brought in through referendum. So the tourist development department expansion was done through referendum. The sales tax was done through referendum. And that's going to impact the growth of our budget. So I'm trying to find strategic ways that are going to impact the pocket or impact the residents of Fort Walton Beach that own property and those kind of things that can save them. Those revenue streams that are impacting our budget and that may be going up by more than 3% or is going up by more than 3%, those are some revenue streams that were brought into us through referendum, through countywide elections that we will be beneficiaries of, and how to best use those funds to offset the impact to the local businesses and residents of Fort Walton Beach. That's why I made the motion I did, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Smith.
Yeah, I just echo what I said previous. We just heard that we could roll the rate back and it's not going to affect our current budget. So I don't think that taking more money than we need makes sense. You really break the budget down here. We got $24 million in carryovers on a $61 million budget. The problem isn't how much our budget is. The problem is we can't get these jobs done and get them off the budget. If we could get these jobs done, you're going to relieve $13.5 million, so you're not going to have a $61 million budget. If we could get these things done in a fiscal year, you're going to have a $48 million budget. Then you got your encumbrance and carryovers, whatever is a breakdown of that. If we could get those things completed, you're going to lose another $10.5 million on your budget. So the 61,150 looks like a big number, but that's only because we got $24 million worth of stuff in previous budgets that we haven't finished and completed. So I think we got enough money. I think we can do everything that we need to do. I think the bigger issue here is we got to get these projects done. And when we get these projects done, you will see that overall budget number just start dropping.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mead?
I do like that we are not all agreeing, especially on budget items. I think this is important. I will support the rollback rate. And I understand it's not the largest item on our budget, but it's very important. It's just as some of our necessary services, the garbage, the fire, the police, those are important to the residents. They're important to the taxpayers. They're important to the voters. The ad valorem rate is high on the list as well. We've established that we can maintain our budget, our services with this rollback rate. If the parking lot does become available, Joe and Eddie's, we open it up, people park on it. It may not have fancy curbs, may not have nice lines, but we can park on it. So hopefully it becomes available sooner. Hopefully we can start doing it. And if we do need to add it to next year's budget, that'd be great. But I just haven't seen anything that establishes to me that if we do adopt the rollback rate, that there will be any decreased services to the city or any harm to employees or those contractors that we contract with. So I'll support the rollback rate.
Thank you. Mr. Walker?
Thank you. Yeah, so I was looking back, this year's budget at $61 million thereabout is a 46.6% increase over the budget base year that year. Councilman Schmidt brought up additional revenue streams. I know that happens, it comes in, and my thought on those additional revenue streams, something I'd love, a guy can dream that those additional revenue streams are they also offset the expense to our taxpayers, the cost of government. So, you know, in an ideal world, for every dollar that came in from additional revenue stream, $1 is relieved from taxpayers, property owners, and that's definitely the mindset that I have when it comes to thinking about the millage rate. And it's overall relatively low impact on the budget. It really is, and you know, I think that government insiders, if you will, would appreciate us arguing over $591,000 as opposed to $4.8 million, and let us duke it out over that as opposed to the $4.8 million for sure. But and with those thoughts in mind too, and maybe my third year will be different when I look at the budget process and all. But as I was digging into it, I looked at the past budgets, and thanks to ClearGov, which by the way, Nicole, on that ClearGov, there's a $12 million error on in year 22. If you go look at it on the revenue and expense, it's listed at like 39 million. It's just, I don't know. It looks like it probably got tied to just a revenue stream instead of revenue expense or something.
It was in 2022, and what was it?
It's just when you go up top and you drop it down and it says all funds or general funds. I think it got stuck on general funds. I think it's showing general fund, not all funds. If you go look at it, you'll see it's like 39 million. But anyway, when I was reviewing that, I was able to quickly see that despite what the budget passes, it does not necessarily impact spending, and that's through the amendment process that we all go through up here. The budget in 23 that was approved was 56.7 million, and at the end, and I believe this is where Travis is talking about the carryovers, it was $76.8 million. That was in 23. In 24, we approved a $56.3 million budget, but final amended spending, the final amended budget is listed at $85.9 million. So we have no problem as a council when issues are brought up here of spending to give it to them. The only chance we have, in my opinion, to save taxpayers money today is on this millage rate. So that's why I would love to see it. I used 3% specifically because I'm not clear yet. And Jeff, I'll follow up with you or Kim regarding the state matching funds for there's some little things that happen at 3%, but it's tied back to 1973 values. Trust me, I couldn't figure it out, but I'll follow up with you on that. But this is our one chance, unless something's planning on happening in the budget, which is up $4.8 million, this is our only chance to give taxpayers back some relief at this time. And I know it's sorely needed out there. Taxes, insurance, groceries, gas, you name it, everything out there. And I love this city too. My property's in it. I want to see us do well, but man, and I think some people need some relief out there. And so, thank you for the time, Mr. Mayor.
Sir, everyone's had their say. Council, please vote. And the budget passes at 4.3282. The millage rate for the city of Fort Walton Beach is 4.3282 mils, fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024, September 30th, 2025. And
You want to recess?
Ms. Barnes,
We need to take a recess.
We need to recess to do the recalculation.
to read that. Okay. We're going to take a, what do we need, 10 minutes, Ms. Barnes? 10 minutes?
15,
15?
they got to
15.
recalculate.
Okay, 15-minute recess, and then we'll reconvene. We are reconvened. The budget for the city of Fort Walton Beach for FY 2024-25 is $60,558,326, which is $4,257,729, or 7.56% more than the adopted FY 2023-2024 budget. I'm supposed to open the public hearing and ask for comments? All right. Anyone want to make a comment on the budget? I'll close the public hearing. I'm going to ask for a motion and a second for Resolution 2024-15 to adopt the budget for the city of Fort Walton Beach for fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024, ending September 30th, 2025.
I'll make a motion. Oh, I'm supposed to put it. Are you asking for a motion?
Yep, I am.
Yeah.
Second.
Been moved by Councilwoman DeBerry, seconded by Councilman Jeter to adopt the budget for the city of Fort Walton Beach for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024, ending September 30th, 2025. We're open for discussion. Discussion? Seeing none, I'm going to call for the vote. And it does pass 4-2. Thank you, council. The budget for the city of Fort Walton Beach for FY 2024-25 is $60,558,326 with a millage rate of 4.3282 mils, which is 0% above the rollback rate of 4.3282 mils. With no further business, we're adjourned.